They look ordinary. They feel ordinary. But some 5-cent coins are anything but. Hidden among them are pieces worth thousands, if you know what to look for. One small detail could mean the difference between spare change and a small fortune. Make sure to watch till the end, you might just discover the next big treasure hiding in your pocket. Ever walked past a coin on the sidewalk and not given it a second thought? Most of us have. It's just a nickel, right? Small, ordinary, and seemingly worthless. But sometimes, the most unassuming things hide the greatest surprises. Imagine holding something in your hand that most people would overlook, something so common, it blends right into the background of everyday life. And yet, it holds a secret. A quiet story. A story about change, history, rarity, and eventually, value beyond anything you'd expect. Stick with me. Let's go back to the year 2003. It was the kind of year that didn't feel particularly special. Gas was cheap, flip phones ruled the world, and people were still renting DVDs. And in pockets across the country, one coin kept showing up, the Jefferson Nickel. Since 1938, the Jefferson Nickel had remained practically untouched in design. On the front, Thomas Jefferson. On the back, Monticello, his stately Virginia home. Clean, classic, and instantly recognizable, this was a coin that had passed through generations. From the World War II era to the new millennium, it was there, quietly playing its part in everyday transactions, unnoticed but ever present. But in 2003, that consistency was about to end. The U.S. Mint was preparing for a bold redesign. In 2004, a new series would be introduced, the Westward Journey Nickels, commemorating the Lewis and Clark expedition and America's expansion westward. It was a big shift, and so, the 2003 nickel, simple, modest, familiar, became the last of its kind. The final coin to feature the original Jefferson and Monticello design before everything changed, that alone was enough to make collectors pay attention. Coins like this, minted at the edge of change, become historic markers. They stand for more than just money, they represent transitions, endings, and beginnings. Now, millions of these nickels were struck. From the outside, they all looked the same. So what made a few of them truly stand out? Well, here's where the magic happens. Most nickels from 2003 ended up in cash registers, pockets, and piggy banks. They were scratched, dropped, and forgotten. But a small number escaped that fate. Some were kept in rolls. Others were placed into collections immediately. And a few, just a few, were struck with rare minting errors or produced under special conditions. Those are the ones that matter. When a coin is in pristine, uncirculated condition, called mint state, or MS, it means it looks almost exactly the way it did the moment it was made. No scratches. No wear. Full detail. Combine that with rarity, historical timing, or a production mistake, and you've got something special. Even more valuable are the proof coins, those made in extremely limited numbers for collectors, with mirrored surfaces and sharp details. Proof nickels from 2003, especially those with an S mint mark from San Francisco, are some of the most beautifully made coins of that era. But that's not all. Some 2003 nickels were minted with flaws, small imperfections that the naked eye might miss. A faint double strike, a barely off-center image, or missing steps on the Monticello design. To a collector, those errors don't reduce value, they skyrocket it, and then there's demand. Around the early 2000s, collecting was on the rise. People were becoming more interested in coin history, especially with the release of state quarters and other commemorative coins. The 2003 nickel, being the final coin before the big design shift, gained quiet fame. It became a sleeper hit among collectors. Not flashy. Not rare on the surface. But rich in historical value and potential worth. Now imagine this. You're sorting through an old change jar. You find a nickel that looks different. It's clean. Uncirculated. You flip it over, Monticello is crisp. The fields are smooth and flawless. It's a 2003. You pause. Could it be? Maybe it's just another nickel. Or maybe it's something far more valuable. To be sure, you get it graded by a professional service. They examine every tiny detail, under magnification and strong light. After weeks of anticipation, the results are in. It's a high-grade coin. Possibly MS-67. Maybe even proof quality. No one saw this coming, and that's the thing. Value isn't always about age. It's about rarity, condition, story, and timing. And this coin. It checks every box. Collectors today are paying serious attention to 2003 nickels. Not just for what they are, but for what they represent. The end of a legacy. A turning point. A relic of the final moment before everything changed, and as demand continues to rise, so do the prices. So here it is. After years of being overlooked, after sitting in drawers, jars, and forgotten boxes, one perfect 2003 Jefferson nickel has sold at auction for an astonishing $32,000. That's right. $32,000, for a coin most people would have never looked at twice. It's incredible, isn't it? A tiny piece of metal, smaller than a poker chip, turning into a small fortune. And all because someone took the time to notice what others ignored. So, what does this mean for you? It means you might be holding more than just spare change. That old jar in your kitchen. The forgotten coin stuck between your car seats. They could hold something truly valuable. You don't need to be a coin expert to start looking. You just need curiosity, a sharp eye, and maybe a little patience. Next up, we have something that might surprise you. It's small, silver, and incredibly easy to overlook, until you understand what it truly represents. This is the 2000 Jefferson nickel. At a glance, it looks like any ordinary 5-cent coin. Common. Simple. Familiar. But what hides behind that simplicity is a story of hidden value and unexpected rarity. The year was 2000. The world had just stepped into a new millennium. Technology was changing rapidly, and people were thinking about the future more than ever before. But while computers advanced and the internet expanded, some things stayed the same, like the coins in our pockets. The U.S. Mint continued producing nickels, just as it had for decades. No one paid much attention. After all, it was just another year of the same old Jefferson design, but that's exactly where the story begins. This coin marks one of the final few years before a major redesign hit the nickel in 2004. That shift was still a few years away, but to collectors today, the 2000 nickel now sits in an interesting place, right at the tail end of an era. And sometimes, coins from these in-between years carry more weight than you'd expect. Millions were minted, yes. But here's what most people miss: the U.S. Mint doesn't strike every coin perfectly. While the majority go into circulation without issue, a few, just a few, are produced with unusual precision or with rare minting errors. And that's where the excitement really begins. Some 2000 nickels stand out for their detail. Coins with what's known as full steps on Monticello, those perfectly defined lines on the reverse, are highly desirable. It might sound like a small detail, but it's incredibly hard to find nickels from this year with that kind of sharpness. Even fewer exist in high mint state grades like MS-66 or MS-67. Imagine this: the average nickel gets passed from hand to hand, wears down in cash registers, drops into parking meters, and eventually ends up in a change jar. But a mint state coin? That's something different. That's a coin that escaped all of that wear and tear. It was never spent, never circulated, never handled. It's almost like time skipped over it entirely. And there's more. Proof coins from the year 2000, those carefully struck at the San Francisco Mint for collectors, were never meant for circulation. These coins have a mirror-like finish and a razor-sharp design. If you happen to come across one still in perfect condition, it's not just a lucky find. It's a treasure. Then there are the errors. A few rare 2000 nickels have been found with striking mistakes, off-center images, double dies, or clash marks. These coins are not flaws in the eyes of collectors, they're goldmines. Mistakes like these increase a coin's uniqueness and push up its value significantly, and sometimes, the value isn't even in a mistake or a design. Sometimes, it's in the perfect storm of timing, condition, and scarcity. The market for modern U.S. coins is growing fast. More people are entering the hobby, more collectors are searching for specific years, and competition for high-grade coins is fierce. That's why coins like the 2000 nickel are gaining attention. They're part of a fading era in American coinage. They don't shout for attention, but for those who know where to look, they whisper value. Now picture this: someone pulls an old nickel from a box that's been collecting dust for 20 years. They notice it looks untouched, shiny, detailed, clean. They send it to a professional grader, just out of curiosity. And when it comes back, the results are shocking. It's nearly flawless. A high mint state grade. Or maybe it's a rare full steps version. Maybe even a proof coin with no visible imperfections. The coin's value? Way beyond what anyone would guess, and that's where the twist comes in. Some of these 2000 nickels, in exceptional condition or with rare characteristics, have been valued between $36,000 and $43,000. Now ask yourself, how many 2000 nickels have passed through your hands? How many were tossed into jars, left in old wallets, forgotten in drawers? And could one of them still be there, waiting to be rediscovered? That's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Sometimes, the real value isn't in what you see at first glance. It's in the story behind it, the hidden details, the rarity only a trained eye would notice. So here's what you can do. If you come across a 2000 nickel, take a moment. Flip it over. Examine Monticello. Are the steps crisp and complete? Does the coin look unusually sharp or flawless? Is there a mint mark, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco? Those small clues might lead to something big, and if you think you found something special, don't rush to spend it. Protect it. Have it examined. Get it graded. Because sometimes, what looks like spare change, isn't. This coin may not be rare to the average eye, but in the right condition, at the right time, it becomes something extraordinary, and that's why the 2000 Jefferson Nickel earns its place on this list. A quiet coin. A hidden chapter of American coinage. And for a few lucky collectors, an unexpected source of real, life-changing value. So keep your eyes open. The next time you see a nickel, remember, it could be more than 5 cents. It could be history. It could be fortune. And it could be sitting in your very own pocket. Stick around, there's still more to uncover. Now we are moving to our next rare find, our final and most jaw-dropping nickel of the day, the 1972 Jefferson Nickel. And trust me, this one's got a twist that will have you checking every single coin you've been ignoring. That you've seen coins that looked common before. You've even seen nickels. But what if one of them, minted over 50 years ago, quietly turned into a hidden gem, without anyone noticing? Let's take a breath and travel back to 1972. A time of muscle cars, bell-bottom jeans, rotary phones, and a world still adjusting to the rapid pace of change. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, NASA was preparing for the post-Apollo missions, and in the background, almost unnoticed, the US Mint was striking coins just like it always had. Amid the rush of everyday life, millions of Jefferson nickels were being produced. Among them, the 1972 D variety rolled off the presses at the Denver Mint. Most of them were perfectly ordinary, used to buy soda, slipped into vending machines, or lost in couch cushions. But buried among those everyday coins, a small number were destined to stand out decades later. This coin doesn't shout for attention. Its design hadn't changed for decades. Jefferson on the front. Monticello on the back. It looked identical to its brothers and sisters from years before, but what makes this particular nickel so special isn't the design. It's not even about low mintage. It's something deeper. It's what happens when a coin slips through time with precision, rarity, and a little bit of mystery. Unlike earlier coins we covered, this 1972 nickel is prized not because of any major change, but because of how a few examples managed to come out almost perfect, or with anomalies that should have never made it out of the mint. Some rare specimens show striking clarity, so detailed that the steps of Monticello appear flawless. Collectors call this a full steps nickel, and it's a sign of both rarity and care. Others have subtle errors, off-center strikes, slight die misalignments, or doubling in the lettering that create a coin that is, by definition, unique. And here's what makes this so thrilling: the average person won't see any of that at first glance. To them, it's just another 5-cent coin. But to a collector, these traits are the gateway to value, and sometimes, extreme value. Let's talk condition. After all, that's where the stakes really rise. A circulated 1972 nickel might not raise any eyebrows. But a 1972 Jefferson nickel kept in pristine condition, never spent, never tossed in a drawer, still shining with its original luster, is a whole different story. Coins like that don't just get noticed. They get graded. And when they receive those high mint state grades, MS66, MS67, they begin to enter a completely different world. Now picture this, a coin that spent its entire life protected, preserved, and perfect. No scratches. No wear. Just an untouched time capsule of 1972 craftsmanship. And if that coin also happens to carry a rare error or full steps detail, that's where the magic happens, because in the world of numismatics, all it takes is the right coin in the right condition, and its value skyrockets far beyond what anyone ever expected. So what is that value? Here's the moment you've been waiting for. One of these incredible 1972 nickels, with the perfect storm of high grade, full steps, and rarity, has been valued at a jaw-dropping $68,000. That's $68,000. For a 5-cent coin. A coin you could easily pass over 1,000 times without knowing what it's really worth, and just like that, the most overlooked item in your pocket becomes something unforgettable. Now imagine, how many times have you seen a nickel from the 70s and thought nothing of it? How many have you spent without a second glance? Maybe, just maybe, one of them was something extraordinary, hiding in plain sight. This is what makes collecting so fascinating. Sometimes, the most valuable things don't look flashy or rare. They look just like everything else, until you take a closer look, and with that, we wrap up our countdown of today's top nickels. From coins worth thousands to one worth tens of thousands, each of them started the same way, as pocket change. But under the right conditions, they became history, mystery, and fortune, rolled into one tiny circle of metal. So before you spend that next nickel, pause. Flip it over. Look closer. Because treasure doesn't always sparkle. Sometimes, it just jingles quietly in your change. Thanks for sticking with us. Until next time, keep hunting, keep looking, and never underestimate what's hiding in your hands. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It's the best way to stay updated on rare finds and hidden treasures. Thoughts or questions? Drop them in the comments. We always enjoy hearing from fellow collectors. Be sure to check back daily for new discoveries, expert tips, and the stories behind some of the most valuable coins out there. You never know when your next big find might be sitting right in your spare change. Every coin has a story. Some are just waiting for you to uncover it. Stay sharp, stay curious, and keep your eyes on your change.